Hello, everyone, and welcome to Asian Viewpoints with Mary Sitt. Our guest today is a pioneer in the field of law enforcement. Tien is the new Asian American chief of police at Metro, the first Asian American Metro has ever had in Houston. Before that, he was leading the Houston Police Department. He rose through the ranks over 30 years there, and he left there as executive chief assistant. Chief Tien, thank you so much for being with us.
Mary, thank you for the opportunity, and most importantly, thank you for making time for me.
Okay, before we get further, I have to give full disclosure. I used to work at Metro, and I retired there in 2021 as the corporate communications manager. So full disclosure there. As the new chief of police at Houston Metro, formerly called the Metropolitan Transit Authority of Harris County, what are your goals and what is your vision there?
So when I got hired on, from my boss, president, CEO, and also the board, they approached me. And, just to be in line with the mayor's intent and focus with public safety, this is huge. Meaning the fact that Metro is not the biggest in the nation, but one of the biggest in the nation in terms of transportation and in terms of transportation authority, providing a mass transportation for most people, right? From special events to people go to work every day. My goal, my vision is to make the platform from the bus to the light rail vehicles to whatever services Metro offer to be as safe as possible. Key is how that's why I was brought in, is how we're going to integrate, Metro Police Department into the overall regional law enforcement community.
Why did you become a police officer?
So when I was a child, I came over as an immigrant. I'm slightly unique. I am what they call like ethnic Chinese, but I was actually born in Vietnam. So, but I don't speak Vietnamese, so full transparency. I speak fluent Cantonese. So
you were born in Vietnam, but you are Chinese, right?
Yeah,
and you spoke Cantonese in your household, and your parents were Chinese living in Vietnam. Okay, got it. So what happened?
So I came over as a young child, just like anything else. My parents, didn't speak English. So they almost like kind of dragged me around to translate for them in a lot of ways as a kid. And I still remember this vividly in the early 80s. I believe it was Hurricane Alicia that hit Houston. And my mom, her health was declining at the time. So she had to go and seek care, medical care. And one particular time, she just had a major surgery, and they gave her a follow-up appointment, the day of the hurricane, right? Of course, no one is anticipating a hurricane. So as we went to the appointment, and I still remember my dad was driving. I still remember vividly in my mind that orange Chevette. Yeah, I'm slightly dating myself. But as we're driving, and the hurricane was coming, of course, despite the fact that it was on the news, I mean, they didn't speak English. They didn't know the hurricane was coming, so they dragged me along to translate. And as we get close to the hospital district, and the water was coming, and along with also, the wind and the rain, and it's going pretty risky. What really got my attention at the time was the fact that there were two police officers. I am not even sure are they Houston police officers or just police officers out there. They're basically directing traffic to get folks away from where they got to go to make sure to get to a safe place. Being the fact that my dad did not understand there was a hurricane coming, and they kept driving, and to the point that this two officers traversed to almost like close to like knee deep and beyond water to kind of stop us and to help us. And he tried to communicate to my dad and to basically tell him, hey, it's dangerous, don't come through. Of course, my dad didn't understand him. But, they would get a little frustrated. As you know, they start getting louder and louder. They didn't know the fact that my dad didn't understand him. Now, just be mindful, this is back in the 80s, the language, definitely there's a language gap between the community and the police. And the two officers was getting pretty frustrated. But when they looked back and they saw this young child, which was me, and they saw how scared I was, being in fact looking at the storm, high water, et cetera, and the loud yelling going back and forth. And this just changed that tune and shifted focus and that compassion that day, And I'm not saying that was like, the moment that resulted in me becoming a police officer, but I sincerely believe that was the defining moment.
You spent your entire career in public service. Where did that come from, this mindset to be a public servant and to help people?
My dad, growing up, we were poor. We were poor, meaning the fact that we don't have a lot of exposure to television. I still remember my first television was the television in black and white with a big old round antenna. I believe it's called
The rabbit ears, yeah.
Yeah, so someone actually threw that away, and then my dad took it home, and one of our neighbors, that actually pretty good, with electronics, so he kind of fixed it up. So that was our only sort of kind of like entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's a little spotty back then, and the channels were limited. But my dad always liked to tell me a lot of stories, right? The valor, the duty, and the sacrifice, all the historical generals fighting those great war, right? And those kind of mindset kind of ingrained into into me, and all those stories he told me, perhaps those historical stories, those war stories, they always come with a common theme: the honor, the valor, the sacrifice, the selfless service. I truly believe that's kind of what prompted me into kind of go towards that direction.
Now, law enforcement runs in your family. Your wife she's with the Houston Police Department. What does she do there, and how did you two meet?
So we actually met back in college, at University of Houston, and so it's one of her nephews, because her parents, being from a Catholic family, and they have many kids, and one of the nephews is probably my age, and the nephew actually introduced me to my wife, and of course we went to U of H, University of Houston. And then we kind of like, and our values kind of match up in a lot of ways, right? Mm-hmm. And this is how we met. And then, of course, she joined the department a couple of years after I did. And then she is currently a commander right now, serving at the Hobby Division. There's a risk associated with this job, and that's just the reality. That's why we raise our hand willingly, without oppression, duress, or threats, to take an oath of office, right? And I volunteer to make that promise, and to fulfill that promise, there's risk associated with that. It's not sort of give us a body armor, and it also gives us a firearm to protect ourselves. But the risk is part of it. You're just like anything in life. You cannot. There's nothing is absolute. You can't control everything.
Let me ask you this. You talked about burdens and the burden of becoming a police officer and some of the sacrifices for your family. Do you ever feel the burden of being a role model? Because all throughout your career, you were the first Asian American this, the first Asian American that. And so, obviously young little kids who look like you sort of look up to you. Is that a burden or a blessing?
The burden is not the burden, it's the stress. Because I know that in life, that regardless, I could do 1,000 or 1,000,000 great things. I get the snapshot in life. Mm-hmm. The problem is, because the fact that I wear this uniform and represent this profession, I always have to create almost this perfect snapshot, right?
And did you encounter racism along the way?
When they are wrong, I have no problem speaking out when I need to. And because of my strong personality, I truly believe now, are there, some sort of like discrimination to describe? Maybe, perhaps there are. But I have personally don't get to experience that because, hey, number one is I will always going to be competent in what I do. And I always try to do the best in what I do. And I won't give anybody any reason for them to discriminate me because of who I am. Because I would definitely get judged by the
And so if somebody exhibits that towards you or has done that, did you just speak out against it? Because you're a strong personality?
I would absolutely will. And I definitely encourage that. Because like Churchill will say, many moons ago, I probably misquote his quote, but hey, evil persists because, great people fail to act, right?
What is your favorite part of your job?
Wow, I'm glad you asked. Sometime I have always been a patrol, kind of guy. I always have the patrol mindset. And you asked me, the patrol is my most favorite. And here's the reason. All the jobs are important, but patrol is my most favorite because the simple fact that when people call 911 and ask for help, that is going to be, their experience, probably, if not the most, devastating moments, at least one of the most devastating moments of their lives, right? And they ask for help. And you can be the person that are there for them and to make that difference and to set that tone. That is huge. Can you imagine that responsibilities? And I try to remind my officers that all the time. Do I make a difference all the time? The answer is no. But did I try to make a difference all the time, even to the point, up to this point, from as a patrol officer to now? Yes, I do. So to answer your question, the most favorite part is the fact that to be a patrol officer with a uniform, when people call for help, when people dial 911, or whatever that may be, to be there, at least be there for them. To be empathetic, at least hear what they have to say, and to be sympathetic when it's appropriate.
Well, Chief Tien, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for giving me this interview. Wish you the very best of luck in your new career at Metro.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and you have a great day.
If you enjoyed this interview, please click the like button below and be sure to subscribe to this channel so you'll never miss a show. I'm Mary Sitt, and I'll see you again in the next video.